What is up, fight fans? What is up, fight fans, Lunar Visual MMA followers? Thank you guys for tuning in. If you have gotten this far to where you're watching this video, yes, I fell out of a chair attempting to do the notorious rollback. Okay, got some comedy there for you guys today. But we're gonna get into UFC 301, Alexandre Pantoja versus Steven Erceg, guys. Such an underrated matchup, underrated card in general. A lot of people have been sleeping on it. I'm calling it a sleeper card, okay? It's not being given the respect it deserves. You got Jose Aldo returning, Michel Pereira, a crazy buck wild contender in the middleweight division. You got Steven Erceg, who a lot of people are sleeping on, 12-1 in the flyweight division. We haven't seen a lot of flyweight boogeymen like this guy come up and be able to get flourished into a title shot. This is our first real look in a while where we've got a flyweight contender who's undefeated in the UFC and almost got a flawless record, and he's going up against a champ who's defended his belt. We're seeing the flyweight division active. Okay, we're seeing things happening. Different matchups from the champion fighting different guys. Okay, Steven Erceg is a different guy. Yeah, he's only had 3 fights in the UFC, but they're all wins. And coming off of an impressive KO, you got to give it to him, okay? We got to get over it. It's happening. People are like, oh, he's 3 fights in the UFC, doesn't deserve a title shot. Let's just move past that, okay?
That's fucking illegal.
The guy has got it. Let's see how he performs, okay? So, Pantoja, Erceg, let's get into it.
Is there no one else? Is there no one else?
Let's start off with Alexandre Pantoja. Let's look at his decision KO and submission rate. 29.6% KO rate, 37% submission rate, 33% decision rate. He has a diversified way of finishing fights for sure. I mean, all across the board. You don't know how it's going to end. But we look at his activity, you know, in recent bout. Brandon Royval, unanimous decision. Brandon Moreno, split decision. I mean, these are the top of the food chain for that division as well. So he's going to decision with the best. Alex Perez, submission. That's where you're starting to see these submissions come in. Brandon Royval, submission back in 21. Manel Kape, unanimous decision. There's a pattern here, especially in the flyweight division as well. A lot of decisions. These guys have rock hard chins and cardio for days. So when we're looking at Alexandre Pantoja against a guy like Erceg, who's been to decision twice in his UFC career, and then is coming off of a fresh knockout in the second round. Part of me is leaning that it's going to go to a decision. But I mean, look, Alexandre Pantoja, he's a dog. He's weathered the storm from Moreno to Royval to Benel. He's weathered the top guys. And Erceg is fairly new on the pro MMA scene, the top of the food chain, I should say UFC. So he's got 3 UFC fights. Pantoja's been in the UFC since 2017. I mean, he's got the experience, he's got the names he's beaten, and he's got the cage time. And Erceg's very, very early on in his career. I mean, let's look at Erceg's age real quick. Erceg is, how old is Erceg? Erceg is 28. He's young. That's really young. I mean, those are prime years. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, Erceg could certainly do something here, right? But this is where there's a lack of experience, because if you look at his record, we'll go to his. I mean, it's not even fully updated. Verdict doesn't even have his information, but let's look at it, right? 17% of his wins in his entire pro career KO. More of his wins by submission than KO. Kind of surprising there, but that's in his earlier career before the UFC. And 33% wins by decision. So we look at it, right? He's been fighting in the UFC since 2023. And look, let's be real. That's not the longest time to have been adapted to competition. But in the way the flyweight division moves, there's not a lot of people you can just skyrocket to a title shot. So it's tough. It's tough, man. I mean, but you look at his early pro career, Eternal MMA, I'm assuming that's a promotion out of Australia or New Zealand, Australia. There's a lot of good competition out there, and there's a lot of good guys out there, a lot of them. So I'm not counting him out at all. Let's look at more at Steven Erceg's stats. Go to Erceg. Like I said, we looked at how he finishes fights. We looked at his age. And let's look at his activity, man. How often has he been fighting? He fought twice in 23 and once in 24. He's checking all the boxes so far. And we look at Pantoja's activity. Fought twice in 23, once in 22. I mean, they got around the same activity. So as far as time spent in the octagon in the past 2 years, they're about almost dead even. But Pantoja's experience is what's really nagging me. Like every time I'm saying maybe Erceg can pull it off, I'm thinking, okay, well, look at this guy, right? Been through the top of the division and been in the UFC for so long, been the distance, been 5-rounders twice. 3 times, I think. Twice at least. Once against Moreno, once against Royval. Yeah, so at least twice. Been in 2 championship bouts. Look, he's still fresh. I mean, he may be 34 years of age. Let me fact check myself before I get it wrong. He is 34 years of age. This guy is just checking off all the boxes. If he plays the composed fight that he normally does, I would say that he 100% has the path to victory on the feet or the ground. We've seen that he can stand with the scrappiest, more dangerous strikers like Moreno or Royval even, or Manel. He can stand with these guys, or he can put you on the ground and submit you. And with Erceg, in a pro light, in the pro spotlight, we haven't seen him do anything other than knock someone out once and go to a decision twice. If you go to a decision, 2 3-rounders with, UFC level competition on the lower level, we're not seeing finishes. I just don't see you being able to pull off something like that against a top guy like Pantoja. I mean, Pantoja, he just seems like he's got more to bring to this fight than Erceg does. Now, it could backfire on me, and Erceg could just come up and do really well with his striking. If his striking is that good, he's a problem for the division. I mean, look at Pereira in light heavyweight division. All knockouts, or middleweight and light heavyweight. He gets off in this sport. He became champion in this sport from simply his power. I mean, is Erceg one of those guys? We don't know. It's so early to call, but this is the great thing about this fight is that Steven Erceg, 12-1, a up-and-coming prospect on the rise, is really about to be pushed to the limit in a 5-rounder. Okay, dude's probably, I don't think he's ever been to a 5-rounder in his life. So we're really about to see the biggest test of his career so early on. I mean, look at Shavkat. He's like 18-0, all finishes, never been to the decision, never lost, and he hasn't even been in a 5-rounder yet. And you would have thought he would have a title shot by now, but that division is so much more dense, so much more loaded with top contenders that this UFC likes to play matchups and make other fighters fight each other to see how things could play out, because they're always trying to time the fights right, you know. And right now for the flyweight division, I think they saw that this was a chance for an upcoming guy to prove himself. And I 100% see what they were doing. So I'm gonna have to go with Pantoja on this one, simply based off of experience, octagon time, and his activity. Whereas Erceg just doesn't have the. I mean, not that it's Erceg's fault. He needs a little bit more time. I mean, it's early for a title shot. I mean, not saying that I would deny a title shot if I were in his shoes. Obviously, you're getting this opportunity. You better take it. But I'm just not sure if he's ready for a guy like Pantoja. Completely honest, I'm not. But I wouldn't count Erceg out. If his striking, which is more than likely his strong suit in this fight, I think the striking is what's going to have to win him on the scorecards. Because generally a lot of these flyweight title fights like to go to a decision sometimes, and in the past recent bouts. So if his striking can keep up with Pantoja's well-versed striking as well, I could see it being a very competitive fight. But Pantoja's a little more than striking. He's a little more than just one-dimensional, as we've seen. So I'm going to go with Pantoja on this one. As far as covering fights for this entire card, it looks like I'm just going to cover this top 2. The demand just isn't there, as we've seen. A lot of people are sleeping on this fight, but I'm going to start putting out separate videos. So this will be a 10-15 minute video max of the predictions. So next fight card, 302, it'll be the main event, 2 fighters, and who's going to win there. Co-main, that's a separate video. And then so on and so forth, the main card, separate videos. Each one will be about 10 minutes long, so you guys aren't having to digest a 30-minute video, which is a lot. I'm not Joe Rogan, so I'm not pulling in that type of interest. So let's get it to where I can not waste everybody's time and break it down as short as possible in short little bursts, so it's not like 30 minutes where you got to drag yourself through it, right? Let's just get it 10 minutes here, and then whenever you want to watch the next one, 10 minutes there. Keep it short and simple. I've got a podcast coming up next week with an amateur fighter fighting out of Georgia. I'm not going to reveal too much on that. And then we've got another podcast this month. Mid-May, I'll be going to Atlanta to a gym, an American Top Team gym, won't say which, to talk to 2 pro upcoming MMA fighters and the Atlanta, Georgia scene. Two of them on the podcast will be great. They're a funny duo. They train together, so it'll be interesting to see those two guys on the podcast. Looking to bring a great conversation with all three of these guys coming up this month. So please stay tuned for that, and stay tuned for the next video. I've got podcasts and interviews coming, more MMA content coming. Please be patient. I know I've been a little stagnant as of late, but there's more coming, I promise. Hope you enjoyed the video of me falling over on my ass on the chair. That was hilarious and not scripted as well. Was trying to do what I did at the beginning of this video, which was roll back casually, but that didn't work out. So anyways, thank you guys for watching. Eric with Lunar Visuals MMA, signing off.
Is there no one else? Is there no one else?